very different from what we did last week, where we were focusing a lot on releasing the shoulders and the neck and the upper back. Today, we're working on what Paul Grilley has described. In fact, he really put a version of the sequence together. He called it the infant series. And it's the movement, well, the shapes we're going to make are going to trace the development of an embryo in the womb out into a baby in the world, crawling, playing with its feet, and up to standing. So it's actually quite a simple practice, I think. And what I love about it is partly its simplicity, but partly because it is unapologetically working almost exclusively with the spine, which obviously is the main axis of our skeleton, and there are all sorts of other energetic understandings of this main channel through our body. Yeah, and because it's relatively simple, as always, I'm just going to invite you to notice, really tune in and feel into sensation. And it's the kind of practice where in some parts you can move around a little bit and feel into what's good for you. So there's some parts of this practice which aren't classically yin poses. There might be a little bit of movement, for example. Yeah, I hope that's okay. So if you'd like to start by, you don't really need anything for this practice except for a blanket. There are a couple of stages. If you had a cushion or a bolster, you could use that, but it's not really necessary. It's quite minimalist. If you'd like to settle completely extended on your back, and take a moment to feel the body and feel into and visualize the length of your spine from its very tip inside your skull, all the way down to the base of your spine, your tailbone. And as you lie here, all you need to do is feel and breathe. And drop in completely to the present moment. And the best way to do that is to notice physical sensation as if you've never really noticed it before, with an innocence, a childlike curiosity. And if you are wanting to set yourself some kind of focus, some kind of resolve or intention, then go ahead. It could be to observe, could be to soften. It could be that your practice is a dedication to somebody you love. That could be yourself, or a non-human animal, or tree, whatever is your tickle, your fancy, your love. If I was Debbie, I'd be dedicating my practice to my tulips. I'm not sure how they are now, but they're the most beautiful tulips I've ever seen. Very lovely. And then from here, you're going to simply draw your right knee in towards you with your hands. And this is not a hatha class where you're pushing through your left heel. We're not trying to really work into the psoas muscle. But we're just gently moving into this right hip. And after a little bit of exploration, a little bit of movement, you can simply hold the knee in towards you. And what I'd like you to investigate here is where it feels really good for you to hold with your hands. Do you hold behind the thigh? Do you hold around the kneecap? Maybe you slide your hands down and hold closer down the shin. And this isn't going to be a long hold. We'll come to those soon. This is a gentle preparation for the practice. And breathe and feel into the right hip and buttock and leg. And then taking a lovely breath in. And aware of sensation in your throat now. Breathe out and lift your head towards your knee and your knee towards your head. And we'll just take a couple of breaths without strain. So we're already working into the curve of the neck. Taking one more breath in. And then very, very gently releasing the head down and releasing the right foot along the floor. So this is not a fancy practice. Paul Grilley, incidentally, is really one of the main founders of Yin Yoga. If you'd like to bring your left knee in now, excuse me. There's a fusion between his initial love, which was an Indian yoga practice, and then a finding of fascinating crossover with traditional Chinese medicine and the Chinese understanding of energy and fascia, the connective tissue in the body. And so again, feeling your way into the left hip, you might have your hand on the knee, behind on the thigh, or even slide it further down towards the foot, and feeling your way into the left hip now. And simply softening in the face and breathing here. Breathing here. And then taking a breath in. And with the breath out, easing your head towards your knee. Aware of any sensation in the throat. And take a couple of breaths, just drawing your knee in towards your head. Lovely. One more breath in. And then release your head down. And then slide your left foot along the floor. And take a moment to feel the body. And then bringing both knees in towards you. And the inquiry here is to notice what feels most comfortable. So often you're told in yoga to bring your knees in towards you. But actually, you might want to explore, do you like to have your knees apart? Or do you like them pressed together? Maybe you even like to cross your feet. So you can have a go at all of those as you take a little bit of time here, hugging your knees in towards you and breathing. Really, really soft around the collarbones and the throat, the jaw. And it's very soft. I don't know if it's just me, but my eyes get so tired that I'm constantly reminding myself and everyone I'm teaching to soften all the tissues around and behind the eyes. And it's a revelation to me what I can feel like if I really do that, without realizing for years that that was a possibility. And then breathing in. And as you breathe out, lifting your head towards your knees. You're just holding yourself into a little bit of a package. Please don't strain your neck. This is not a really tight, long hold. Just taking a breath in and then lowering your head. Breathing out as you drop your feet to the floor in a constructive rest position. And if you'd like to place your hands, palms facing down, underneath your buttocks, underneath your sacrum, and lift your legs up towards the ceiling. So there are 2 or 3 occasions in this practice when we take a hinge, which is a much more of a yang type core engagement movement. So breathe in and look up in between your legs, and then slowly breathing out, lower your legs, drawing your abdominal muscles right back towards the floor. When your heels are about 10 or 20 centimeters off the floor, staying a moment before you then sit all the way up. And take a breath here, feeling the body. And then coming back and lying down again. And bringing your knees to bent again, feet on the floor, and taking your arms out in a T shape. We're going to take a brief twist. We'll have an opportunity later to take a long twist. So breathing in here, and on the breath out, dropping your knees to the left as your eyes come to the right. So we're not doing anything more fancy than this. Little twists with the spine are very, very good for the spine. We will actually spend a couple of minutes, so it's a little bit longer than what we've been doing. Softening completely into the belly. Very soothing, soothing practice. There's no specific way to breathe here. This practice is very much about simply noticing how you're affected by whatever posture you're coming into, and how your breath is part of that. Very soft. How much more can you soften here? Where do you feel your body softening? Can you observe with all of your attention by being completely absorbed? Letting go completely. And often that's a matter of simply giving yourself permission. And then bringing your head back to neutral and gently lifting the right knee to plant the foot down, followed by the left. And taking a moment in a neutral position before we take that short twist to the right. So breathe in, and then breathing out, drop your knees to the right, your eyes to the left. And inviting softness into your skin. Inviting softness into all of your internal organs. And all of the tissues, the muscles, the connective tissues. Such a beautiful, receptive practice. Opening yourself to the evening. And letting go, asking where in your body you're able to soften a little bit more. If I keep sneezing in this practice, it's not because I have a cold, it's because I've forgotten to wash my hands after chopping loads of garlic, chili and ginger. Breathe and let go for a little bit longer, just about 20 more seconds in this very simple little twist. And then very gently bringing your head back to neutral first. And then lifting your left knee followed by the right from your feet on the floor. Taking a moment to notice the neutrality of your spine. And we take another hinge. So if you'd like to place your hands palms facing down underneath your lower back, take your legs up. And actually we won't synchronize the breath here because you might take a few breaths to come down. So lifting your head and gently lowering your legs, but trying to draw your navel, your side waist back towards the floor so your abdomen is engaged. This way you protect your lower back. And then looking at your feet as they hover off the floor just for a couple of breaths. One more breath in. And then gently release the feet and release the head down. Take the hands away and feel the whole body now. And if you'd like to bend both of your knees up again. And we're going to take stirrup or half happy baby on the right. So if you'd like to take your right foot and make sure it's facing the ceiling. Now you might be able to hold on to the foot, but you also might need to hold lower down the leg. It doesn't matter, but you're aiming to bring your knee down towards your armpit. Another 2-minute hold. And the left knee can fall out to the side. And this is a pose again where you can experiment. You might like to, oh, I've just put chili in my eye. Sorry, everybody. You might like to hold on to the foot with both hands. Or not. You might like to even move around a little bit in this pose. We're not treating it as a long hold yin. We're gently easing into parts of the body before we come to some longer held yin poses. So breathe and feel here. And if it feels more comfortable for you to slide the left leg away, then go ahead. You might even want to float it off the floor a little bit. And breathe. Observing how your body responds, how your breath responds, and your mind as well. There's nowhere to go with this practice, absolutely nothing to achieve here at all. Other than opening yourself to the revelation of sensation. What a lovely thing to do on a Friday night. Just a few more seconds here on your stirrup on the right. Taking a breath in, and then gently easing the knee back in again, taking your foot to the floor and lying flat with both legs for a moment, just to feel again the difference between the two sides of the body. Noticing if there's anything that's changed in your breath since you started the practice. Might or might not be. And then we take the half stirrup, the half happy baby rather, to the left. So experimenting if you want to hold with one foot, with one hand, with two hands. Seeing what you want to do with the right leg, if you want to slide it away maybe. And the idea is not to strain. So if you're straining to hold the foot, please take your hands lower down the leg. Notice, most importantly, where the sensation is arising for you. And then soften right into it. And breathe. Maybe moving around a bit. A little bit of an experiment, a little bit of an inquiry here. Oh, that's interesting. Breathing and softening. Breathing and observing. And that includes noticing what's going on in your face, your eyes, your tongue, your jaw. And then taking one breath in. And one breath out. And releasing the left knee. And sliding the foot away and the right foot to feel the whole body. We're going to take a full happy baby now. So if you'd like to bring your knees in and take them apart, take both feet so that the soles are reaching, facing towards the ceiling. And then either take a hand to each foot or hold lower down the legs. And we're going to stay for 3 minutes, so it's a longer hold. And what I want to say here, which is slightly different to some happy babies, is that we are actually curling, we're peeling the lower back off the floor as much as you want here. So this is excellent, excellent for lower back health. So it's not that you're trying to do a backward roll at all. You might find you only peel a tiny bit off of your sacrum or even the first few vertebrae, or you might take a few more vertebrae off. See what's right for you and then drop into this pose and breathe. Very soft in the throat if you can. Drawing your knees down towards your armpits. You might become aware of a very soothing, I think, stretch. It's less than a stretch, it's more soothing than a stretch, but a light sense of opening across the lower back, the sacrum. And breathe. And sometimes in these longer held poses, after 1 minute, we begin to notice how things have changed. And we're now 1.5 minutes through the pose. You might or you might not be using your arms to push your legs a little bit further apart. This will give you more sensation in the groin. Depends if you're more interested in what's happening with your lower back or what's happening inside the legs and with the groin. There's different emphases, depending how much you peel your back off the floor. And soften in the face and breathe. And you're coming to the final 30 seconds of this pose. And in the longer poses, if you become more aware of a monkey mind, fleeting thoughts or stories, circular thoughts, that's absolutely fine. What you can do is simply nod to them and say, "Hi there, you're there, thought." And then maybe observe how it drifts away without needing to attach anything too much to that thought. Taking a breath in, and then gently bring your knees together. Give yourself a little hug. Take your feet down. Slide the feet away and take a moment again to feel the body. Very lovely. And we're going to take another hinge. I'm sure you don't like the hinges, you could be leaving them out, but it's just very useful when we're working on the spine to also have some core abdominal strength to support us, to support our trunk. So if you would like to take your hands under your lower back again, under your sacrum and your buttocks, palms facing down, feet up. And just looking up in between your legs, take a breath in. Actually, don't worry too much about the breath. Just simply breathe naturally as you lower the legs. Just don't hold your breath, keeping that integrity in the abdomen. When your feet are a little way off the floor, looking at your feet and hovering, feeling the strength of your abdomen, the support. One more breath in, and then very gently releasing everything. And feel the body, feel the support beneath you, feel your skin. And we're coming to a 5-minute hold now in twisted roots. So this is a more intense twist than the one you did before, and I'm going to give you different options. So we'll start by bringing the knees into the chest and taking the arms out in a T shape to begin with. It's a 5-minute hold, which is a really long time to twist. So it's probably not advisable to entangle your legs like this, bind your legs, unless you really know that that's okay for your back. All I want to say is if you want a very soft, more yin type quality twist, as you drop your knees to the left, keep your knees quite low down, away from the armpits. And here you'll work much more specifically into the sacrum and to the lower spine. If you're feeling like you want a little bit more intensity, you want to work up the spine, you bring your knees much further up towards your armpit. But you're trying to completely release the legs down to the left at the same time as, and it might not be happening for you, but imagining that your right shoulder blade can melt into the mat as your eyes look over to the right. Begin to settle. Take time to settle. If you really, really love entangling your legs, you would have the right leg wrapped over the left with the foot behind the lower leg. That is also very nice, but it's just quite intense. I don't feel like doing that at the moment. And as you settle, the other thing you can do is just bring your awareness to your right arm. And I would say if your shoulder and arm aren't easily resting on the floor, that you might want to place a blanket underneath them so they have support. And the other thing to think about is if you'd like to bring the right arm up close to your ear. So you have a slightly different sense in the shoulder and even in the side body, the side of the ribs. And then drop into your pose and breathe and soften. So we're already 1.5 minutes through. Lovely. Hi, if you've just joined me, just seen that somebody's recently turned up. So if your knees are further away from the armpit, there's more of a targeting of the lower spine and sacrum. If the knees are higher up, you're coming up more to the thoracic spine and the shoulders. And the other thing you can think about here is, do you want 100% yin pose where everything is soft and surrendered? Well, what might it be like to contract a little bit, to explore a little bit more of a yang type twist, like as if you're drawing the right shoulder blade a little bit more in towards the spine, even a little bit of contraction of the abdomen. I'm not saying that's better, it's just an inquiry into the difference between that slight yang engagement contraction and the total surrender and softness and passivity of the yin pose. You can alternate. And keep coming back to your breath. You can even try holding your breath a little bit and squeezing into the rib cage, just to see how that affects your experience of the twists, and then let go. These are all options. It's not that anything's better or worse. You're coming into your final minute. This is a long time to be in a twist. So see if you can ask yourself where it would be possible to let go a little bit more. What do you need to do to let go and to soften? Breathe. I'm coming towards the end of the pose, so inviting even more softness in the face, in the lower belly. No more contracting, no more holding on. Hi, Will.
You're not on mute, are you?
Not on mute. Will's just come in from a cycle ride. And then you're going to come out of this by bringing your head back to neutral first. And then gently lifting the right knee, followed by the left. Taking both feet down to the floor and sliding them away, legs apart, arms now down, a little way away from the body. And take a while to feel before we come to the other side. What do you feel? What do you observe? How is your breath now? And then we'll bring the pose to the other side. So taking your arms back in a T shape. And deciding whatever you did on the left side, please do the same on the right in terms of how low down your knees are or how high up they are. And floating them down to the right, your eyes come over to the left. One thing I forgot to say, and I'm sorry, is that you can also use your hand as a little bit of weight on the top knee, so that it would be your right hand. I hope some of you just did that intuitively anyway. So you're experimenting with where you want the knees. And then you can decide where you want your left arm. Do you want it out in a T shape? Or does it feel actually quite delicious to have it stretched up by your ear? And do you need to cushion it with a blanket or something if it's hanging in midair, if you can't release the left shoulder blade down to the floor? And coming to your breath. And noticing or asking if you're happy to stay for the rest of this pose in complete softness and complete receptivity of yin. Or if you want to begin to contract a little bit into the ribs, shoulder blade, even the abdomen, to explore a slightly more
intentional twist, let's say, but never too tight. You can even hold your breath as you feel into the effect of a little bit of contraction, and then soften again. So have a little play. It's all good. And I'll be quiet now. If your mind wanders a lot, keep bringing it back to the breath. And soften. And breathe. And let go if you're not contracting right now. If you are contracting, don't ever do that for too long. It's just to explore contrast in the pose. How soft are you in your throat and behind your eyes? Can you feel the stream of air in your nostrils, moving back to the back of your nose, sinus cavities, and right into the body and back out again? Like you've never felt it before. Stay very, very intimate, very, very close with every molecule of sensation, every millimeter of your skin. And as you come into your final minute of the pose, now only becoming soft, letting go of any of the inquiry into contraction. And surrender completely to softness. Stay close. And then to come out, bring your head first to neutral. And then lift your left knee, take the foot down. Lift the right knee, take the foot down. And aligning your spine so that it's all neutral and simple, and sliding your feet away. Allowing your feet to flop out, your palms face the ceiling. Maybe some of you are outside, maybe your palms are facing the sky. And feel the body now. Notice everything. Welcome to those of you who are joining late on. That's absolutely fine. It's lovely to see you all tonight. So we're going to come back to a baby pose. Just a shorter hold this time. It's going to be a 2-minute pose. You'd like to bring your Knees in towards you. And can you reach your feet? Can you reach your feet? Maybe holding onto your big toes or on the sides of the feet. And what I'd like you to have in mind for this pose is a baby on its back. And you may or may not have noticed this with babies, but a baby who wants to or is able to suck its toes. So what this means, I'll just put the timer on, 2 minutes. What this means is that now, even more than before, you're pulling, now with your feet together, you're pulling your lower back off the floor as far as it'll come, but you're drawing your toes down towards your mouth. So we're not babies. My feet are a long way away from my mouth. It'd be lovely to know if any of you can drop me an email, maybe Sonia. I don't know if it's Sonia Welsh or Sonia Allen, but Sonia, if it's Sonia Welsh, I just know you and I bet you are able to suck your toes. And if it is you, well, either Sonia, lots and lots of love. Lovely to see you here. And keep breathing as you keep peeling the lower back off the floor, the spine off the floor, to draw your feet in towards your mouth. You've got another minute here. You've got another minute to try and suck your toes. The other thing that might happen for you if you're very flexible, I'm not flexible enough, is your elbows are around your ankles. So my wrists are around my ankles, but you might have your elbows around your ankles. Quite a lot of compression in the belly, the abdominal organs. It's quite a strong forward fold, basically. Quite extreme flexion of the spine. Taking one full breath in and a long breath out. And then very carefully now, very carefully, taking your sacrum down on the mat, bringing your knees in towards each other, having a little hug, a little squeeze, and then dropping your feet down to the floor and sliding them away so you're lying down completely extended. And then interlacing your hands behind your head, I'm going to do a little bit of a neck cradle. So this is really lovely for the vertebrae of the neck. You're going to lift your head with your hands and allow it to hang in the hands. And it's a 2-minute hold. And some of you may find it helps to engage the abdomen ever so slightly. And some of you might find it's quite nice to move a little bit here. Simply inquiring into sensation in the neck. You might be moving your head from side to side, or you might prefer just to be completely still. And your hands are almost dragging up the back of your skull, almost dragging the skin. Not almost, they are really. And breathe here, feeling the wonderful therapy that this should feel like for your neck. It shouldn't feel like any strain. Oh, my timer keeps... Okay. Let's say that that's 1 minute and we have another minute. Remember, it's fine to move a little bit or stay very still. You might have your elbows close in, or you could allow them to hang out. The full weight of your head in the hands. It's a cradle, it's like a little hammock for your head. And taking a lovely deep breath in, and very tenderly release your head down to the floor. And slide your hands away, arms down by your sides. Taking a moment to feel the body now. Taking a moment to feel the body. So we have a choice for the next pose. So the pose could be snail, which is the most intense type of forward fold you can do, and it's definitely not for everybody. So if you suffer from glaucoma, for example, or simply that you feel like it's too much strain on your neck, or even that you can't breathe properly, I'd like you to take the second option. But let me show you the first option first. Let me show you snail. Those of you who have a cushion or a blanket could have it behind your head. And a snail, this is a pose that I'm reluctant to teach without being there with you. So only do this if you feel fully confident. Absolutely vital, please, that you don't move your head once you're in the pose in order to protect the neck. So the pose is this. Don't come into it yet. I'm just showing you. You're lifting yourself up with your hands on your lower back and then bringing your knees down towards your ears. And if you've got a bolster, your feet could be resting on the bolster. You might find that your knees can come all the way down. It's really nice to take the weight of your arms over your legs by taking the hands over the ankles. It's a long hold and it's a beautiful, beautiful hold, but not for everybody, as you can see. I'm actually not allowed to do this pose myself, so I'm coming out. And if you're coming into that pose, go ahead. Please don't move your head. And the alternative is caterpillar, where you simply come forwards over your legs, and you could have a bolster here, you could have straight legs, or you could bend your knees. And it's 5 minutes, so it's a long one again. So although both poses are flexing the spine, the forward folds, if you're in caterpillar like I am now, then you're getting an opening in the back of the legs that you don't get in snail. And in snail, you just have the most potential for opening into the tissues of the back, basically, fascia and muscle. Fascia and muscle are interpenetrating anyway. So whichever pose you've come into, we're nearly at the 1 minute stage, seeing if you can now come into stillness. This is a time, this is a nice long hold where you can really drop inwards. And Paul Grilley describes yin as a practice which makes us feel as if our bones are being pulled apart, which doesn't sound particularly attractive maybe, but the vulnerability that we can experience as a result of a sense of our bones being pulled apart is a very, very interesting state to find ourselves in. I'm not going to say anything more than that because it's such an individual thing. It's very, very different to the muscular contraction of a yang type practice where we're looking for strength and stability rather than vulnerability. Staying very, very present to the breath. And to every tiny, tiny sensation that is present for you now. And stay with it. If you're in snail, it can become pretty intense. You've been in it for nearly 3 minutes, so don't put up with any more than feels absolutely okay for you. There should be no strain or pain in you at all. There might be discomfort, mental discomfort as well as physical, but that is not the same as acute pain. Cannot overemphasize that enough. Please, please look after yourselves, especially your neck, in the snail pose. And asking yourself what you need to do to soften more and drop deeper into your experience of this pose. Coming towards your final minute. Staying close. Breathe. A few more breaths. If you're in caterpillar, it's the seated forward fold, engaging your abdomen ever so slightly as you very, very slowly come up and sit with a straight spine just to feel the body. If you're in snail, come down very, very slowly, and please bring your head with you. Please don't even take your hands behind your head to cradle your head again as you drop your feet to the floor. And I know that when I used to do this, 5 minutes is such a long time to hold in this pose that it really can feel as if your skeleton will never come back together again. I don't know if you're experiencing that. You can really take your time to come out of this pose. So for example, it might not be possible to slide your feet away immediately. But when you're ready, and I'll leave you for some time, just allowing yourself to lie flat. And if you were seated just now, coming also down to lie flat. And everybody take a while to feel the body. Feel the residue, the rebound. And see if you notice what I mean about vulnerability and what happens in that space. I feel like I could be clever and have lots of lovely poems and things to read tonight, but I haven't. I'm just leaving you with a question of what do you find in that space of your own vulnerability? What does it open you towards? Wonderful. So we're coming to another long held pose, which isn't really a pose that I would imagine a baby taking in the womb, but who knows? It's cat pulling its tail. So we don't need to take Paul Grilley literally when he talks about this evolution of the embryo into a standing child. I don't think. So cat pulling its tail is an interesting pose. It's a twist and also potentially a little bit of a back bend at the same time. So we'll come into this by having the left leg long and bringing the right leg up to vertical first of all, and taking the left hand on the outside of the right leg and taking the right arm to one side, out to the side, and you're going to pull your left leg over so that you actually come to your right leg over, I'm so sorry, so that you come to lying on the left side of your body. And then you bend that right knee. So you come all the way over to the right. And then bending up your left leg and see if you can hold your left foot with your right hand. And the first thing I would do here, there's variations in this pose again, is come to resting your head in your left hand. Right knee is out to the side, and you're pulling your left heel in towards your buttock. So this version, I'll put on the timer. We won't stay a full 5 minutes, but we'll come towards it. This version, when you're pulling the heel in towards the buttock, is also giving you an additional stretch on the left thigh, the quadriceps. And this may be where you want to stay, and that's fine. You can see the twist. But I think it's also really nice, and it's up to you which version you take, to bring your head to the floor and start drawing the left knee further towards the right with your right hand. So it pulls you into a little bit of a back bend, and you're trying to keep both shoulder blades down on the floor. Some people do this pose. I'm not going to demonstrate this now. Well, I could actually, by holding the right big toe with the left hand, if you wanted to, but that's much more yang. That's not really a yin pose. So you have those two options, head in the hand, heel to buttock, or pulling the left leg behind you. So you're arching into a bit more of a back bend and then melting that right shoulder blade down, looking over to the right. So it's a complicated pose to come into, I always find. But once you've found where you want to stay, softening and coming to your breath, and it really is a pose in which you can observe yourself surrender, relinquish responsibility, and soften. Keep coming back to your breath. One thing that can sometimes happen in this pose, if you're not careful, is you could be getting a twinge in your left knee. So if that is the case, I want you just to move around a little bit so that you find comfort, because it's, don't want to be damaging the left knee at all. It may be that you don't want to pull the knee so far behind you. You might want to come to the option with the heel in towards the buttock instead. And breathe. We've got 1 more minute. What do you need to do to let go a little bit more, to soften a little bit more? And taking a full breath in and a long breath out. Releasing your foot. Bring your head back to neutral and simply coming to lie on your back. Completely flat again before we take cat pulling its tail to the other side. Feeling the body. It's a complex pose, I think. It's not my favourite, personally. although I like the after effect. And then we'll lift up the left leg and lead it over to the right with the right hand. So you start by coming onto the right side of your body, and you can prop your head up with your hand and look for your right foot and pull the heel into the buttock. So this is the beginning pose, and this may be where you want to stay. It's definitely where you might want to stay to begin with. As you settle, you feel the twist. But at some stage you might like to lower your head and pull the right foot behind you into a little bit more of a back bend. So a little bit more of a push-pull, and the left knee is right over to the right. And your left shoulder blade is easing its way, not straining its way, it's easing its way towards the floor, and you're looking to the left if you can. So I think it's very difficult with all of that in mind to relinquish, to soften in this pose. It's like there's too much going on, but see what you can do. See where you're able to let go. If you're looking for maximum back bend, you might not be letting go, for example, or maximum quad stretch. I find it really helps to soften in the belly and to become super heavy in the bones of the pelvis. And breathe. And soften. Soft in the face. So if anybody's interested in Paul Grilley, who really is one of the most amazing yin teachers, he's teaching online classes via Try Yoga. And tomorrow I'm doing a class with him, and they're only £20. So usually his teacher training's really very expensive, but these classes, I think it's an hour and a half long. And I imagine there's lots of spaces available because it's online. So you could, if you're interested in yin and you want to develop your yin perhaps with a master, you could look up Try Yoga Camden and enroll for the course. I've said that without checking if there's availability, but I'm sure there is. I'm really excited because I love his way of teaching. And soften. We've just got another minute or so here. Trying to let go as much as you can. And breathe. And very, very slowly releasing foot, rolling back over again in your own time. Now feel the whole body extended. Notice the rebound, the residue from cat pulling its tail. From here, if you'd like to roll over onto your belly, we're beginning to transition now into slightly more
infant out of the womb type postures. This pose that we're going to take is actually called infant pose, and it is a yang pose, as you'll see in a moment. You're going to take your arms by your sides, and for 1 minute you're going to hold everything off the floor. So just imagine a baby on its tummy, moving around, activating all the back muscles. Try not to hold your breath. Try not to clench too much in your buttocks, because then you'll be able to really activate the back muscles more and not compensate with the buttocks. Unless you've got strain in the lower back, in which case clenching your gluteal muscles will help support you. So this is quite hard work. We've got about another 20 seconds. Breathe. Feel the effort. Feel the yangness, the fieriness of infant pose. One more breath in. And then breathe out. Completely release down on the floor, resting on one side of your head. Feel the softness now right across your back. Feel the sensation. And from here we come to Sphinx or Seal. So it's going to depend on you. It is a 5-minute pose again. So you might have your elbows underneath your armpits, forearms parallel or palms together. You might have your forearms raised up on a block or a bolster, if you like that. Just gives more compression in the lower back. Or you might like to come into Seal. You take your hands out about mat distance apart. Obviously, this isn't for everybody. If you've got any pain in the lower back at all, please don't do this. It's a lot of compression for the lumbar spine. So you choose where you're able to stay. And come to your breath. Come to your breath now. Some people like to take the head back. I'd like you to just keep your head where it feels completely comfortable. Stay with the breath. And it's also fine to move in between Seal and Sphinx. If Seal becomes too strong, come down. Or if Sphinx doesn't feel like it's quite giving you enough sensation, come up. And if Sphinx is too much, take your elbows out to the side and come down a notch. And breathe and feel and breathe and feel. Soften in the face. Hope you're doing okay, Paul. Austin. There's 2 Pauls here tonight. Big love to Julie, Paul. And hi Liz, I wonder if you're with Karen. I wonder if you're both there. So it's funny seeing one name and not knowing how many people are behind the screen. Big love, I wonder if you had a swim in the river today. It's got much, much warmer. 2 more minutes in this pose, I'll stop yabbing. You can come into your own stillness, your own softness. Keep coming back to the breath. As we come into the final minute, deciding if you want to stay where you are, or if you want to come up a notch, or if you want to come down a notch. Whatever feels right for you. We're coming towards our final 30 seconds. And taking a full breath in. And then as you breathe out ever so gently, coming all the way down. And 5 minutes again is a long hold. So you're bound to feel a redistribution of chi, a redistribution of energy around your lower back now. Bring your head to your hands. And take a couple of breaths where you really inflate into the belly and create space in the lower back. And then bringing your hands by your ribs so you can gently push yourself up to all fours. You can feel quite delicate after a long hold and seal. And sit back towards your heels. You're going to need to rest your head maybe on the floor or on a block. And then wrap your arms around the body so your shoulders can just drop. Palms are facing up. We'll just stay for a minute or so now. We won't stay long here. And taking some breath into the back of the body. Super silky soft in the forehead. Breathe. And soften. Noticing the body's response. Every tiny bit of it. And then gently using your hands to come to sitting on your heels. So this is a time in the practice where it's not particularly yin, because we're going to take Camel Pose, Ustrasana, but not for too long. So Camel Pose is this, but it can also be taken with your hands on your lower back. That might be plenty. We'll only stay for a minute. So choose if you feel most comfortable with your hands pressing into your lower back, into your sacrum, or if you're able to take your hands to your heels. This is quite a strong back bend, so please listen to your body and don't necessarily take your head back at all. You'll need to draw your inner thighs in towards each other a little bit to give you that support in the abdomen and your lower back. Breathe. So very yang, very strong. Stay for about another 30 seconds. Lovely opening for the whole of the front of the body. And taking a full breath in, and then using your breath out, strong abdomen to come back up. Sit on your heels for a moment. You might want to counter that by coming down onto your forearms, just briefly, but not flipping from pose to pose, but allowing your spine to acclimatize. Just for a couple of breaths. And then we're going to do my favorite thing, which is marauding bear. So this is you being spontaneous and intuitive on all fours, just barrel chesting. Really dipping and lifting. There's no right or wrong. Just whatever you do in one direction, do it in the opposite direction. Really feeling into the hips, the ribs, barreling your chest. Imagine you're a bear marauding in some white water rapids in Alaska or something like that, wherever your imagination takes you. A few more breaths. Quite a liberating movement. So you can see why this isn't a typical yin class. In my mind, it's definitely not. And some of you have done this with me before in the river, and we did this class last year, this sequence last year. Okay, and it's coming to stillness in your marauding bear. And bringing your forearms down on the floor with your elbows underneath your armpits and taking your feet out behind you. So it's actually a forearm plank or a version of crocodile. And this is strong again. So we're re-knitting, we're reintegrating the core after a lot of work on the spine. I want you to really become buoyant in the pelvis. You're not sinking, you're becoming buoyant in the pelvis. And we're going to just stay for another minute. Obviously, if this is too much for your shoulders, lie on your belly, hands underneath your forehead, and allow your heels to drop out in a different version of crocodile. Breathe. It's quite intense. Quite intense. Let's take another 20 seconds. If you can, otherwise drop your knees, of course. Hold, breathe. And then gently drop your knees. Ooh, and roll all the way down onto your belly. Have a little rest here, very soft. And sliding your hands by your ribs, curling your toes under, lifting yourself gently first to all fours and then coming to a downward dog, which actually is what babies do when they come to standing. And take a few breaths in this downward dog. You might want to bend your knees. Take time to make it the most delicious downward dog. I'm not going to give you any more instruction than that other than to feel it completely and to breathe into it. Also aware of the space around you, space around your body. The space that you're breathing with, in relationship with. Beautiful. And then looking in between your hands, baby step your feet forwards. And you have a choice here of keeping your legs straight or bending your knees a little bit in a pose called elephant. If you have glaucoma or blood pressure issues, I'd rather you came down to caterpillar, where you're sitting on the floor, legs extended, upper body just draped over the legs. Otherwise, you might even have your hands underneath your feet, if that's right for you.
And you can even rock a little bit from side to side, aware of your sitting bones. And dangling. So I probably wouldn't take the hands under the feet, because that's more of a yang type pose. Really want a sense of the shoulders and the head and the arms really heavy, and a sense of the whole of the upper body pouring out of the pelvis. So you feel this is wonderful decompression for the spine. Breathe and feel, even feel the body swaying slightly. And just stay a little while longer, not too long. Feel the energy pouring out through the top of your head. Almost as if you're being dragged down towards the floor. And then from here, slight bend in the knees. We're going to roll up bone by bone. So keep your chin right into your chest. Shoulders rolling forwards. So you just come up vertebrae by vertebrae. Breathing. And eventually your shoulders will roll back. Your head will come up to perch on top of your spine. So you're standing. Come up to standing. It's a miracle. And taking a moment to feel the body here. And then interlacing your hands and lifting your, I can see on the screen, I can't see my head, I'm sorry, but basically you're pushing the palms of your hands up towards the ceiling. And stretching up through the hands as you root down through the feet. Take your feet slightly further apart. And then as you twist your upper body round to the right, lift the left heel and drop your head back. So you're looking down over your right shoulder towards the floor. Just for a breath or two here. We're not going to hold it. And you can come back to the center. Twist your upper body round to the left. Lift the right heel so you can really twist and drop your head. So you're looking over the left shoulder. And do that in your own time once more on each side. It's quite a delicate, almost balletic little stretch. When you come back from the left side, releasing your arms down by your body. And if you're happy to, close your eyes now. Just close your eyes and notice what you feel. Notice what you feel. Maybe a gentle pulse. Maybe even a very gentle sway in the body. So you're firmly rooted down through your feet. You're able to stand upright and walk into the world, but so sensitive, so alive. Taking a few more breaths here. Obviously, if you don't like to close your eyes, if you feel unstable, you open them. And in your own time, coming to lying on your back. Coming to lying on your back. Just to completely rest and absorb the practice. Allow your feet to fall out to the side. Your arms could be a little way away from the body. Make sure you're warm enough and very, very comfortable. So you can lie now in silence for as long as you like. I'm going to draw the practice to an end in about 3 or 4 minutes, but if you're going to stay longer, that would be beautiful. And I'm going to end the meeting rather than bring people up for a chat, mainly because I'm really hungry and I need need to finish cooking. As you lie here, don't miss anything. Become completely absorbed in the whole sea of sensations of which you're a part. And let go completely. Let go. Let go. If you're going to stay longer, that's fantastic. Maybe you want to turn off the volume if you haven't already. If you want to come out of the practice now, all you need to do is take a few slightly deeper breaths, feeling the rise and fall of your abdomen with the breath. And introducing any delicate transitional movements that you like to do in order to come out of Shavasana into more of a wakeful state for the rest of your evening. Maybe rolling onto one side for a bit, maybe eventually coming to sitting up. And just thank you very, very much for joining me tonight. It's been lovely. I have recorded the session. I'll see if I put it up on YouTube. I'm not necessarily going to. I'll see. Any feedback would be wonderful. And I'm back at 9 in the morning for a very different type of twisty, zesty flow. Hope you have a really lovely weekend if I don't see you in the morning.